Griff, good afternoon, and give us the way that the Georgia Bulldogs are thinking. Usually a tough game, usually a game that worries them. What about this time around?
Well, it's always a physical game, Paul, when Georgia plays Kentucky. I mean, Mark Stoops and Kirby Smart have a lot of similarities in how they approach the game, both big believers in the line play and establishing the physicality. I guess there's a threat of rain that Georgia looks at. I would expect Georgia to come out relatively conservative. The only way they can lose this game is if they fumble the ball, turn it over, and hand Kentucky a ton of momentum. Kentucky just not a very explosive team this year. Of course, last week was surprising to me to see South Carolina march in there after a close win over the Citadel and win by such a lopsided margin. But, Kirby Smart looks at that and says, hey, there's just a couple of bad plays that didn't go Kentucky's way. Momentum shifts. This is the SEC. Georgia under the lights on the road in Lexington, potential threat of rain. Should be a Georgia win, just a matter of what the number is.
Let's get to some of the other games because certainly that game is not going to be particularly compelling. The first game that we mentioned was Alabama at Wisconsin. Do you see anything interesting about that game?
Well, it's Alabama traveling north, and I'm not sure what the temperatures will be. If it's, weather's, I don't think so. I don't think Wisconsin's very good. I don't think Luke Fickell has gotten the culture established there that he had at Cincinnati when they had a little bit more punch and the Bearcats had a little bit more bite. These Badgers to me are very tame, and Alabama has now been exposed in some areas for Coach DeBoer, and I mean that in a good way, Paul. It takes a good opponent for a coach to find out where the strengths or weaknesses are at, and the types of adjustments that they need to make. Now, I've got a lot of faith that Kalen DeBoer is a good coach and that he knows his personnel. Alabama's got reason for motivation. Obviously, only beating South Florida 14-13 going into the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa. That game was much closer than I and many others anticipated. But a lot can be taken from that. Adjustments can be made. As DeBoer said earlier this week, they got to go through some rotations, see some personnel. I expect Alabama to win big in Wisconsin on Saturday.
Of the SEC games, we mentioned the one you're covering, the Alabama game. Is there one that you find particularly compelling?
Well, I guess the drama in Florida. I think you'll be there, right, Paul?
I'm living
And
in
I think
Florida
you guys,
right now.
yeah, and for the A&M game, right? So, you've had an opportunity to sit down with Scott Strickland before and talk about this coaching situation there. And listen, everybody knows Billy Napier is a really nice guy, and it was really nice that he covered the spread for his fans last week, barely against Sanford, but he's on his way out, and I've been told the buyout money's been raised. It's a matter of time. They really want to hire Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss is bowing up behind the scenes, I'm told, and Lane could be making 12 million if he stays there. I mean, that's really what's happening. And as for the game, I mean, if Florida beats A&M, I suppose there may be some people that want the Hail Mary to try and keep Billy. And I just don't think so. I think that the deal's in place where I think Strickland stays, Napier goes. I think A&M will go in there. Mike Elko doesn't play. This guy makes adjustments. It was a big one for the Gators last week, but we're hearing Napier talking about playing two quarterbacks, and are you trying to win the game? Are you trying to appease it's a tough situation for Billy Napier. It's almost like there's just too much water to be bailed out. I think A&M probably wins a close game, but it is intriguing because you probably will have an opportunity to see Scott. I know he has sometimes a gatherings Friday night where he invites people, so there could be some interesting talk. I still think Jamie Chadwell is the perfect guy for that job.
Okay, let's go back here because you said a great deal there. We, as you know, we talked to Scott Strickland exactly 2 weeks ago in Gainesville, and he told us what he told us that Billy Napier was his guy and he would be there for a very long time. That was before the Miami games. It does seem like everything changed after that. But you said something that I have to ask you about. You said that the Florida people have already gathered the buyout money. Did I hear you correctly?
Paul, the drama's great. You saw this happen at Tennessee with Philip
No,
Fulmer.
my question was, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yes, I've been told that the wheels are in motion and that this is happening. And you can't just raise, what is it, 27 million overnight? I mean, it takes time for these things to happen. It takes the right people to buy in and make the decision that yes, a change needs to be made. Now that said, it wasn't too long ago that Auburn thought they were hiring Lane Kiffin, and Kiffin was indeed headed that way until the last day. So what's right today may not be right tomorrow. But I'm telling you, the
But
Florida
but
people, the
and
Florida
what
powers
and so
that be,
you don't know if Kiffin wants a job. You just know that they want
right?
Kiffin. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, they want Lane Kiffin. You know, Lane is got a lot, you know, he's popular on Twitter. His offense is exploding. He's showing how quickly he can turn a program around with the portal. I mean, it's not a say, you know, what did Nick Saban say? You better get the right guys with your 20 million or you're doggone out of luck. I won't use a word like he did. He gets paid a lot. He can say what he wants. But he says you're out of luck if you don't get the right guys. Lane Kiffin has proven he can go out and get the right guys. So far, the chemistry's good. Last year, they finished strong with a heavy transfer team. I think there's only 4 players who start for Ole Miss that aren't transfers, just to tell you what a group of free agents the Rebels really are. So, but if you're Florida and you're saying, hey, we got to turn this around fast, you know, maybe Lane Kiffin is your guy. Now, a lot comes with Lane, and we could do a whole show on Lane Kiffin's background. It's interesting he calls you out for how you do your job when he's been fired I don't know how many times from every level, the NFL and Southern Cal. And anyway, I digress. They think they want Lane Kiffin. He puts a good offense on the field, and he's proven he can rebuild quickly.
Yeah, and they don't need a social media department if they hire Lane Kiffin because he'll do it for them, won't he?
He will. He's very entertaining, and I enjoy being in Lane's. He's made a good relationship with Commissioner Sankey. That's always good. Good to know the principal if you're in his office every now and then. There seems to be a very good relationship there, and Lane does bring some color and entertainment to the SEC, and he also coaches a doggone good football team. And now they got embarrassed
But
at
but
Georgia
but,
last
but
year,
Mike,
but hmm,
what if Lane has the team that we think he has, and he's playing meaningful football up until 2 weeks into January, which he could be, assuming that he gets past the first round or two. Wouldn't that complicate the situation?
well, certainly it would complicate the situation, but you know, we've seen coaches before finish out their tenures before taking over at a new program. We saw Kirby Smart do that effectively at Georgia, and if Florida
Yeah, he was
wants
also an
Lane,
assistant coach.
sure, but the point is, you can go deeper into your tenure and still finish a job. Now we've also seen coaches that haven't done that. I can't predict what Lane will do. What I can tell you is what's happening right now, and what's happening right now is there's a lot of Florida money set up to buy out Billy Napier and make a change, and that the Florida people want Scott Strickland. They're going to keep Scott Strickland. Look, everybody needs a mulligan every now and then, and maybe Strickland, you know, the Napier hire. Again, it was a
Well,
Saban family tree.
he
It seemed
also
like
hired Dan Mullen.
and Dan's the last guy to beat Kirby Smart in the regular season. So let's get. And then he had a couple of what he called them good seasons, 8-win seasons at Florida, which kind of lowered the bar, and as well as the poor recruiting that gave Billy Napier.
I will see Scott tomorrow night. So when I see him,
Yeah,
Scott Strickland, the athletic director, I just want to make sure when he asked me what was said on our show Thursday, I want to be clear. I will say, Scott, even though you told me 2 weeks ago that Billy Napier was your guy, methodically putting this program back together again, and you told me right here that he would be here for a long time. Mike Griffith on our show said that he has been told that the money has been raised or is about to be completed, and your program, the one that you currently are the athletic director of, wants to hire Lane Kiffin. I just want to make sure I disseminate that story
yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, well, first of all, long time's a relative term. I mean, you know, 2 weeks is a long time to some people, or one season. Listen, that may have Scott is not, you know, king of the world. No, he's a very powerful man and a very well liked man, I might add. I really enjoyed working with him at Auburn. He's a salt
Alter
of
the
the
earth.
earth guy. But the reality of it is, he has bosses too, and the people that write the checks make the decisions. Those are the people that are going to give you the NIL money. Those are the people going to make the donations. They're going to pay for this wonderful Havner Center that they have and any stadium updates. Scott has bosses too. And it's his responsibility, Paul, when you put him on the spot, because you asked some really tough questions. Everybody watching knows that. When you put him on the spot, it's his responsibility to back his employee to the very last second until they pull the rug out from under him and make a coaching change after this year.
All good. I am just a reporter here. I just tap the mic, answer phone calls. I mean, you just crank me up. I don't do the reporting. I don't have the insight. I just want to make sure that when I land in Gainesville here, I am well sourced.
Well, talk to Coach Spurrier. He's an eye in the sky. He's an iconic
We'll see
figure
him. We'll
there.
see him
He's
tomorrow on
seen.
the show. Do you think he's involved in the coup to overthrow Billy Napier?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's not
I
how
just want to make
Spurrier
sure
works.
that
He
wasn't a
doesn't
good
get
question
involved
for
in the
him.
politics. No, he does not get involved in the politics. He's got his legends. He's going to root for the Gators regardless of who the head coach is. He might give an opinion now and then. He prefers to
And what
do
do you
that
think?
about
And what do you
opponents,
think his
sticking it to him.
opinion would be? I know what he'll tell us tomorrow because he told us 2 weeks ago. But what do you know him better than we do? What do you think the greatest player in Florida history, the most famous player, would say if I said, Steve, off the record, what's the deal?
Yeah. The same thing that one of the greatest Florida players says on the SEC network, and that's Chris Doering, that they want what's best for Florida. And if that is the best move, I'm sure they'll support it. If keeping Billy Napier was the best move, they would support that too. Look, Paul, they've been in the game. They're not like you and I to sit out here and throw our peanuts and give our opinions. These guys bleed the blue and orange. This is painful for them. This hurts, Paul. They're bleeding and they're hurting and they're shedding tears behind the scenes. The Gators had it their way for so long, they forgot what it was like to be at the bottom of the SEC, and it does not feel good. So these former Gator players, Gator legends, they're going to stand behind the university. They're going to support the decision that the
I
university
know all
makes
that,
because
Griff.
they
I'm just trying
understand
to make
those are the
conversation here. I mean, I've
kingmakers.
covered this sport for a couple of years. I hear all the gobbledygook every week. I'm just trying to
Sure.
understand what's really going on. Anyway, I think I
Well,
will be.
I can't speak for. Listen, I cannot
I
speak
don't
for
want. I
Steve.
don't
I
want
would
you to
never
speak
speak
for
for Steve
anyone, Griff.
Spurrier.
I just want you to tell me what you're talking about. You're the one who came on the show a few minutes ago and have sources that say that Napier is about to be done. I just want to make sure I'm
Well,
communicating that
about
correctly.
to be done does not necessarily mean after this game. It could be midseason,
Hey,
but
by the way,
until
Griff, I
ultimately
didn't say
Florida will
that.
have a new head
I
coach.
think we all know what we're talking about. Why are you equivocating?
Because I want to be clear, because you have a way of stirring things
No,
up
I don't.
effectively, and I want to make sure my
Griff,
stance is
don't
clear
throw
on
this
this.
on me, man. I'm not the one who said Billy Napier is about to be out of there because Gator boosters are coming up with the money. You're the one who said that.
Yeah, I'm just letting them know, but they already know that. There's message boards and there's sources all over Gainesville, and this is not shop talk. I mean, this is a pretty well-known thing right now, and it's going to be a tough question for Scott to answer. And but you know what? That's why he's in his
I mean,
position.
Griff,
All I can do is
I
report
mean,
to
the
you what
reason why
I've
I'm
been told.
acting the way I'm acting is I haven't heard this, so I don't know message boards. I don't know
That's
what
not
you're
my
talking
source.
about. All I know is
No.
I've been there. I'm about to be there twice, and I've not heard one person tell me that this was going on until you showed up here today. That's why we've made a big
Okay,
deal
well,
about this.
okay, to be clear, yeah, I didn't get that off the message
I
boards.
want to
What
be
I'm
clear.
telling you is that people are aware of it and that there are very well-sourced people in Florida that know what's going on. Does this really surprise anyone? I mean, let's be honest here, Paul. Everybody's seen
Yeah,
the
Griffith
product on the
surprises
field.
me because I sat with a man I respect 2 weeks ago, and he told me what I just got through disseminating to you. And all that's happened in the interim is a terrible loss to Miami. That's all. That's all. That's the only thing that's happened.
That's yeah, that's all that's happened. Yeah. Listen, Scott Strickland is a wonderful man, and I know you have had opportunities to sit down with him, and I'm glad you'll see him tomorrow night. But he's in a tough spot. He's got to do what's best for the school. He's got to support his head coach and the student athletes. And it would not be fair for Strickland to pull the rug out from under Billy Napier any sooner than he's told to.
I feel like I'm moderating the presidential debate. Anyway, Mike Griffith joining us. We appreciate it. We will talk to you next week.